Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. Podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
We are back, everybody. The Unofficial Steelers Podcast has returned, man, and it feels good to be back. Feels good to have the show back, guys. Turn that down. God. Very good. Girlfriend's in the room. She's got the show on. So if you guys heard that, that's what that was. But, man, it's good. It's good to be back with you, Daniel. Good to be back here. I'm going to be talking about good old Steelers. Jared Devil, what's up, man? Steelers fan. Appreciate you tuning in. George, good to see you back, man. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Man, I feel like it's been months without this show. How about you, dude?
Yeah, it feels like it. It's been since before the Super Bowl, I think. So
yeah, before the Super Bowl, I think was our last one.
It's been a minute. I'm looking forward to it.
How have you been? How's it been going? How's life been going?
Everything's going real well. I've been off and on the State of the Steelers podcast too, just because news is not there to a certain extent. There's certain stuff that's come out, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Still working with now the Steel Curtain Network, formerly Behind the Steel Curtain. So they had a name change, they had a network change, and then of course I've been doing a lot of work with the Drunk Turkey Show. And so,
right. Yeah, I know you've been really occupied with that. That's been growing exponentially.
Yeah, it is. It's moving up there, man. It's getting up there. I think we just hit 33.4 thousand subs. It's
awesome, dude.
It's
congrats on
insane,
that, man. That's exciting.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, me and
it's
the
really
guys
exciting
about it.
Yeah, I try to tune in whenever I can. Steelers girl, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Thanks for being back. Yeah, I try to tune in whenever I can. If you guys haven't checked it out, Drunk Turkey Show, man. Daniel and a couple of his buddies, man, they've been growing a lot over there on the Drunk Turkey Show, guys. So check that out. I'll also, speaking of another podcast, my friend and I, if you guys have ever noticed him in the chat, Zach Hutchings, he's the Ravens fan and likes to kind of make fun of Mark and stuff like that. He's been my best friend since 4th grade. So him and I actually started our own show the other day, and it's called Who Are These Guys? It's kind of a take on a joke with his dad, but at the same time, like, it kind of makes sense. We're kind of making fun of ourselves with the title a little bit. But really just kind of the title itself, like, you just kind of know it's like, these guys are talking. Yeah, I know, George, Ravens do suck. Just talking, but we talk about really anything, from sports to things going on in entertainment, gaming. Like, I just put out a show today just talking about Disney and Universal parks, ranking them. Our first show, we talked about like the new Hogwarts game coming out, or that came out, and a couple other gaming franchises, Durant getting traded to the Suns. So stuff like that. So if you guys honestly just like pure entertainment and laughs and just really conversations about anything, definitely check it out, guys. I will leave it in the description below on this channel. I will put the link in there if you guys are interested in that. Or even if you guys want to sub, because we appreciate the support and just we obviously want to get people on the show too eventually. So as well that we're doing. But as you see by the title of the show, finally, the NFL offseason is starting. It's over. NFL season's over and done with. I think we were all ready for it to be over with, with the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Really to kickstart a new year, really a lot of things that are going to be fun to talk about in the coming months. In this month, March, April, there's going to be a handful of things to talk about. And so really what we wanted to do here is kind of free agency starts in March. And we know that players can kind of really start talking and stuff like that in the beginning of the month. So before really all that happens, we kind of wanted to give some predictions out there, maybe things that we think we'll see or that we want to see. You guys can also give your predictions as well in the comments. We'll talk about that. If you guys have any questions, we'll definitely answer that toward the end of the show. But feel free to put your thoughts out there, guys. So we all know the Steelers have a list of free agents. Who doesn't? And we know that there is going to be significant upgrade in a couple of positions. Daniel, what do you think are really the big key positions the Steelers really need to tackle in this offseason to go from here where they were last year, finishing 9-8, to getting up here?
Well, for me, offensively, you're probably looking at the line. I would target the tackle position as being one to pull up. PFF had a chart out a couple, right before the Super Bowl. It was referencing how the Eagles leave their tackles solo by themselves, and it showed all 32 NFL teams, and the Steelers protect their tackles more than any other team outside of the Miami Dolphins and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, it comes with reasoning. They also had another graph, and this was the Colts. Twitter had put this one out to show about the success rate when left on an island. And Chicks Okorafor and Dan Moore were they weren't bad, but they were kind of towards the bottom of the pack. Kind of in the middle, but in the bottom end of the middle. And so Chicks Okorafor than Dan Moore. And I say this all to say that the Steelers have had to protect these tackles. It's taken an effect on their passing game. One of the things that a lot of folks have been trying or that have been critical of the Steelers offense has been their passing concepts and things of that nature. But when you have tight ends that are having to stick around to chip block or you're having to bring linemen eligible to help protect the tackles, that takes away from the passing concepts and the routes that can be going down the field. And so I think it would be pivotal for the Pittsburgh Steelers to get an outside tackle, tackle to a future guy there. And the other position on the offense that I would address possibly is going to be also on the offensive line. It's going to be interior linemen, whether it's kicking Mason Cole out to guard and getting a different center or getting another left guard. Something has to be done there. The Steelers, their offense was okay. It wasn't bad. It got better towards the end of the year, but they don't have that Mauler, that guy that can pull, that agile, that speed, that your Marquise Pouncey type, your Alan Faneca type, just to go back, the pulling type of interior offensive lineman that they've been accustomed for, and they don't have that. And so I think that those are the two holes that you would address on the offensive side. And on defensive side, it's going to be, you got, in my opinion, probably a little bit more holes. You have the middle linebacker position, you have up front, and you have the cornerback room that, in my opinion, need to be addressed. Especially middle linebacker, inside linebacker. When it comes to those positions, I would definitely look probably at free agency when it comes to the middle linebacker. This has been stated. I don't watch college ball, but from those that do have told, me and things that I've researched, that this isn't the best middle linebacker class as far as the draft goes. And so perhaps maybe going free agency. I've made it no secret that the Steelers should probably attempt to get Tremaine Edmonds in.
Yeah.
But up front, Larry Ogunjobi, he's going to be a free agent. I think you need to address that position there. I'm not entirely sure you want to bring Larry back just because he's going to want a lot of money, and there's a lot of holes there. And then you have also the cornerback position, which, that's a toss-up. The Steelers address it in the draft. They've not been, known to draft the best cornerbacks. So we'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, the corner, there's always like skepticism with that because we know their track record with cornerbacks in the draft, and just none of them really have ever seemed to come to fruition. But yeah, those are all definitely their biggest needs. Excuse me, as a group. Jared Devil says I'd look at left guard, left tackle through free agency, and definitely the draft. They're definitely going to touch on that. Wherever that is, no one can really quite say with certainty what their plans are, who they're quite looking at. But you would think with them having 3 picks in the top 50, right? Top 50, 3 picks in top 50, that they would take one of those positions with a lineman. Time has gone on too much where they have not prepared themselves for the future of the offensive line. And now is the time you have to establish that. Yeah, Cam Sutton has really been the only corner that they've drafted, and I'll touch on corner in a second. But yes, offensive line, there's probably 4 tackles that can go in the first round. And I'm all for, as I think really anybody would, if they took one of those guys with the 17th pick or the 32nd pick. You can easily, I don't necessarily want to say easily because we know tackles are obviously really valuable. But if they're available, you can definitely get one at 17, 100%. If there's someone that you're sold on, at pick 17, you can easily get one at 17. 32 might be, there'll probably be a handful of them off the board. But still, that's still an option. When it comes to the rest of the O-line, James Daniels is there. Mason Cole's there. One guy that isn't being quite talked about is Okorafor. And he even said, too, that he would not be surprised if he was let go. He said that somewhere on social media. He knows it's a business, and I could see that happening. Okorafor isn't a bad tackle by any means, but he's not necessarily someone that's a can't cut type guy. They signed him to a 3-year deal last year. They had an opt out at the end of year 1, but most of his money he's going to make in those 3 years come in year 2 and year 3. So if they want to utilize money somewhere else, I could see him being a cut guy. What if they move Dan Moore over to right tackle and they take a left tackle on that? What do you think about that?
I mean, I would definitely. I mean, that'd be a better option than what they have now. I mean, when you look at, and I don't have it with me, but that PFF chart that showed the win percentage when left on an island, Chuks Okorafor played, it wasn't a lot less, but it was less. Mm-hmm. At his level was less than what Dan Moore was, and Dan Moore was a second-year player. He's going into his 3rd year. There should be another jump up, and perhaps going on to the right side, getting a left tackle in the draft. I mean, that'd be an awesome move. I would definitely approve of that move to go forward.
I think that's a possibility. I really do.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it would make sense for me. I'm not sure where Dan Moore played in college. Did he play on the right side? Did he ever show that he could play on the right side? Was he a switch guy?
Well, I can't really quite say in college because I remember when they first drafted him, I remember reading different stuff. But since then, I don't really recall. But I know I've heard people say that in their opinions, they think that he would be a lot better suited off on the right side. Now, I'm not saying that goes for everybody or everybody thinks that, but I'm saying at least from a few people that I have listened to and even know, they agreed that they think Daniel Moore would be more productive on the right side.
Yeah,
just because of his skill set and everything like that. So, I don't know. I think with what the Steelers are right now, they're obviously going to make cut moves. They're obviously going to cut guys. They're going to make moves to open up cap space. Now, if they cut William Jackson, Gunner, Miles Jack, but I don't quite think that's going to happen. Mitch, you can even add Okorafor in there, and somebody else. But that would open up between 35 to 40 million in cap space.
Hey, brother, your audio is coming in really, really bad. I'm not sure if it's on my end.
Hold on.
Or if it's on your end.
Hold on one second. Testing.
To me, it sounds really bad. I'm not sure. Let me know in the live chat, y'all.
Let me know in the live chat. Is my audio coming through to you guys, or is it sounds okay on George's end?
All right, let me pull myself out. I'm going to have to readjust my stuff. Okay, it's on my end. I'll be right back.
Okay, Daniel will be right back, guys. All right, sounds great. Both of y'all. Okay. All right. So it might just be something that's coming through on Daniel's end. Don't mind me. I'm really up close right now. But Jennifer, hello. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning back into the show. Jared Devil, hoping Gonzalez or Witherspoon drop 17, but it's unlikely to happen. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, I'm definitely going to touch on corner here in a few minutes. Sounds okay there. Yeah, so it's definitely got to be something on Daniel's end. But continuing on till Daniel comes back, we all can agree that offensive line at least needs to be touched on somewhat. Doesn't need to be completely overhauled. James Daniels definitely. Hold on. All right, Daniels back. All right, we good?
Better.
Does it sound better?
Yeah, much better. I don't know if I hit something on my end or whatnot. Okay. Sometimes I have to unplug and plug in my stuff.
And it happens, man, with this freaking audio crap technology and everything. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're good. It all coming off all right to everybody else. So we are chilling. Yeah, the offensive line is definitely something that is going to be touched on. Now, to what extent, nobody knows. But you would imagine that they would go tackle somewhere with one of their first 3 picks or some offensive lineman with one of their first 3 picks, because it's gotten better, obviously. Like, I remember everybody was freaking out in the preseason because of how bad they were. But it's funny because as halfway of the season, it was the best thing on offense. Yeah. So they definitely, and as the season went on, they continued to grow and improve, stuff like that. I definitely see a tackle position being addressed, and I could really see a guard position being addressed, maybe bringing some competition to Kevin Dotson or something like that. I'm fine. Hey, you keep Mason Cole. I like his attitude. I think that he, I think he overperformed from what I thought he was going to do. I really do. I thought that's not saying that he was elite or anything like that, but he overperformed, I thought, from what he did. And I think really everybody would probably be okay to keep him around. James Daniels didn't give up a sack all year. We know a core 4 could possibly be cut. So that's the options there. Now, the great thing about free agency this year in the draft, when you look at who the Steelers are paying, they're not really paying anybody on offense other than Deontay Johnson. Everybody else is still on their rookie contract in terms of offensive positional players. So this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity. Omar Khan, if you are listening, this is the opportunity to strengthen the team as a whole, to be aggressive and take advantage of the fact you're not paying a quarterback right now. You're not paying top tier money to really anybody on offense. Strengthen that defense. If do something, bring in a couple guys to the O-line to bolster that, you're sitting pretty freaking nice. And that's something that they got to do. This team's on the rise. They have a good young core. They never really had to enter a quote-unquote rebuild, really, which is a great thing. So this is the opportunity. And the Bengals had this opportunity with Joe Burrow. Well, now they're going to have to pay Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is going to be paid eventually. T. Higgins is going to need paid. Jesse Bates is a free agent, their safety. So that's the thing. You're not going to be able to pay everybody. So this is the opportunity for the Steelers to take advantage of the fact you're not paying anybody really right now on offense. So we'll see what happens there. Continuing with free agency, cornerback is, we obviously know, a big thing. And we're getting flashback at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we really are. But at least we know where the team is, unlike really going the offseason last year. And then even after the offseason, like, no one really quite knew how the team was going to be. Now we at least know what they are, what they can do, and what to kind of expect going forward. Would you take Michael Mayer in the second round if he's there? Tight end Michael Mayer. I wouldn't, just because Freiermuth has already transitioned into being a really reliable tight end, and I think Connor Hayward's going to get more of an opportunity. What do you think, Daniel? I would not take a tight end in the second round.
I do too, and I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Gentry finds himself back on the team.
Yeah.
You know, he does special teams. And when it comes to Pat Freiermuth and it comes to Connor Hayward, one thing that Zach Gentry does have over those two guys is his blocking ability. And so I think they're going to try to retain him and bring him back. I think I was listening to DK Sports, and he was talking about that. He talked about it. He touched up on Zach Gentry. He said he sounded like he didn't think he was going to be back, and I guess he spoke to him recently, and here recently it sounds he seems a little bit more,
optimistic.
Yeah, optimistic that he'll be coming back.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And honestly, like Gentry, he's not he's not a guy that you want as an every game starter, but he's someone that does little things that I think you appreciate. And so if they want to bring him back, he can. But honestly, Michael Mayer, Mayer, whatever you say, I think he's going to go in the first round. Honestly, I really do. I think he'll be a tight end pick in the first round to a team that needs somebody to spread the field. So Jared Devil, that's a no on that. But hey, if you like him or want the Steelers, I mean, that's your opinion, man. I mean, that's fine. Absolutely. Just I'd rather see the team go in a direction of more in the draft in terms of really what can you ultimately do to bolster the all around team. I feel like tight end, like you're pretty good there. I know Freiermuth has had a couple concussions and stuff like that. But even if I think if Hayward or Gentry need to step in there for a couple games, I think they're more than capable of doing that. But cornerback, though, I'd say other than, well, I don't want to quite necessarily say other than low line, but we know corner is probably a top 3 position to look out for this offseason. So Cameron Sutton's free agent. I think, in my opinion, I'm not basing this off of anything, but Daniel, do you have any doubt that Cameron Sutton is going to be re-signed at all? Are you 100% on that train he's going to be brought back?
I don't know, man. I think he's going to test the market, and I think somebody might give him some money.
Yeah,
I think that might end up being the case. He's a talented cornerback, and the Steelers have Akil Weatherspoon, Levi Wallace, possibly going to draft another cornerback. Cam Sutton might be pricing himself above what these other cornerbacks are going to be coming in. I mean, there was rumors earlier, just a couple of weeks ago that the Steelers were targeting Marcus Peters. I wouldn't hope that they do that. I don't find value. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no value in a cornerback over 30, but it's just not been a proven formula of success. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I would prefer to have Cam Sutton back, but I think Terrell Edmonds had a tweet here recently. It seems like he might be,
dude, I'm blocked. I'm blocked by him.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, I've been blocked by him for like 3 years.
What did you do to him?
Dude, I probably said something that he was mentioned in and he didn't like it, and he probably just blocked me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's random. Well, he tweeted something about like, him being happy, and then he came out on Instagram something about, this, he's happy for these moments, things of that nature. And so, a lot of folks are thinking that maybe perhaps he's been given a deal that is on the verge of being accepted.
Yeah.
And him coming back, I think if you bring back Terrell Edmonds, you try to bring in a Tremaine Edmonds, re-signing a Cam Sutton, that might be something that you're looking in the draft to achieve, to replace, maybe to get a CB1, because in my opinion, right now, the Steelers don't have a cornerback one. Even if they were to bring Cam Sutton back, he's not a cornerback one. He's not a shutdown guy that's going to be able to traverse back and forth. Now, the Steelers traded for William Jackson because of the fact that at one point in his career, he was that guy.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a jersey on. It's unfortunate. No. It is what
they're
it
not
is.
paying him $12 million, dude. He's getting cut.
Yeah, I would hope so. And so, they were looking for that type of cornerback, and that's the type of defense they want to run. They want to have a cornerback that can shut down half of the field.
Right.
And right now, currently on staff or on roster, or even if you bring back Cam Sutton, the Steelers don't have that guy.
Right.
And so I think they're going to try to go find themselves a guy.
I could see that too, man. I could see that too. And I hope that Cam Sutton doesn't price himself out, quote unquote, but we've seen guys do that. We've seen a lot of free agents do that. And I feel like it's more likely he comes back than not. Like, I feel like the Steelers are going to do somewhat of their best to bring him back. But I think regardless, even if they bring him back, I still think cornerback's on the table at 17.
Yeah, no, it's quite possible. I mean, it definitely is. I think it depends on what happens at left tackle. Who falls, who doesn't fall. I anticipate this being a heavy quarterback draft in the top 10. I think there's going to be a lot of movement for QBs. So that's going to allow some talented guys that should be top 10, drafted to drop out.
Some guys are going to drop a little bit. Jared Ellis says Myron Muth would kill the middle of the field. Yeah, they definitely would. See, and this is why I'm against drafting a wide receiver, is because to me, it becomes too many mouths to feed. We saw how things were earlier in the year when Claypool was here, right? We saw different week. It was like a different receiver was unpleased. Now, receivers have to understand, obviously, especially the younger ones, you're not going to have a great game every week. That's just the way the defense plays you, game plans, how your offense is going, who you're trying to get involved. I don't really care to see a receiver or an offensive weapon taken in the first round because I still like Deontay and George Pickens there, Freiermuth, Najee. I'm fine with, hey, bring in a guy in free agency that doesn't need the ball all the time, that does the little things, that brings some leadership. And then you still have Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin, we don't quite know how he's going to do because he didn't play at all, but he's still a guy that has some potential. But with the cornerbacks, I don't want to see them if they draft one in the 17th round or in the 17th round, 17th pick. I don't want to see them draft somebody that's a project. I want to see them draft a corner that's ready to play. And I think a guy like Joey Porter's ready to play, Witherspoon, and Christian Gonzalez. I think those are all three guys. Not saying I'm an expert on those guys, but from reading what these guys' strengths are and stuff like that, I think to me, yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. And then that's kind of the problem they had with Claypool. Another reason why they felt they could move him. But I want to see a corner taken that is ready to play week one. Artie Burns, when they drafted him, he was still raw. He was still raw. He was still guy in development. And he wasn't really even their choice. I felt like they drafted him just because they desperately needed a cornerback. Mm-hmm. And he met that need, but we know how he turned out. So I'm fine with corner. I really want to see him take a tackle in the draft. It's just incredible them being able to have the draft capital they have right now before the season started compared to now. So that definitely take advantage of that. But with free agency, like I said, they make all those cuts, save up. They're definitely going to make cuts. They're going to make moves. Maybe they'll restructure Cam Hayward or something like that. But with all the moves they can make to free up free agency, there's a handful of guys on the defensive line that and probably many could probably see this team going after. And I've advocated, I think it would be sick if they went after Javon Hargrave again, but I know he's going to command pretty hefty contract. And the Steelers might want to put the money elsewhere. I don't know. We know Tremaine Edmonds has been a guy that a lot of fans has thrown out. Kaiser White on the Eagles is one of their inside linebackers. He's a free agent. He's been a guy as well that people have talked about. One cornerback I will say, and Daniel, you can let me know what you think about this. We know right now Cam Sutton's free agent. Levi Wallace still has 1 year on his deal. I believe Arthur Millette is under contract for 1 more year. But what about if they go after someone like a Byron Murphy who plays the slot? And remember, I don't know if you remember now, the Steelers did show some interest in him when he was coming into the draft 4 years ago. And he's been on the Cardinals the last 4 years. He was a little injury riddled last year. But if the Steelers want to maybe not just rely on the first round of the draft to get a corner, they can still do that. But maybe they look at another slot guy as an upgrade over Millette, or where they don't have to put Cameron Sutton in the slot as much. What do you think about a guy like Byron Murphy or a cornerback, a slot cornerback in free agency?
I mean, I think Byron Murphy would be a step up on Arthur Millette, but it doesn't solve the problem with the cornerback room, which is not having a cornerback one.
Well, that's what I mean. You can still draft one.
Right. But, I got a little bit of concerns with Joey Porter. How do you feel about the fact that he only had one interception his entire collegiate career?
Well, I know with him that his ball hawking ability isn't necessarily like compared to probably some other guys. But one thing about him is he's really good with his hands, and man coverage is definitely a big strength of his. And now we know the Steelers. Now they led the league in picks this year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so they might be wanting to find someone that maybe has a more knack for the ball than Joey Porter does. But if the Steelers value more of someone who, in terms of press coverage, being able to effectively use their hands on the wide receiver and stuff like that, he might be a guy. He might be a fit if that's what they're looking for. I don't quite know what they would ultimately want, but I understand in terms of turning the ball over, getting those turnovers, Joey Porter not really showing that. But they still have guys like Minka, and if they want to bring back Kazi, that might be able to do that a little bit. Cameron Sutton, we know has been a guy as well. I mean, geez, he would probably have 8 interceptions this year if he caught all those against the Dolphins. But but yeah, no, I understand with Joey Porter not really getting the turnovers. I just know that in terms of his hands and more so man coverage type ability is really what he thrives in more so. So it really, I think, just depends what the Steelers want.
Right. Yeah. Because I was just kind of concerned that might be just a name, a bloodline. You know, the guy that you would typically see the Pittsburgh Steelers drafting, right?
Yeah.
Just because of the pedigree and everything that comes with him. Now, like I said, my concern comes in. I really haven't seen much of him playing. I've seen some highlights. The highlights will make anybody look really, really well. But
Right.
I noticed there was a lack of turnovers, and then I went and looked at the stats. He only had one the entire collegiate career, and then I saw that he kind of turned it on the last 2 seasons, but prior to that, he was getting kind of burnt. Even the season before last, he wasn't the best. I'll leave it at that. And he had a damn good season last year.
Yeah.
And so, my concern is it, first round pick? Is it a reach? I know he's first round talent. At least that's what, the mainstream media is saying. But they also said that about a lot of guys who ended up not going into the 3rd round. And so,
Right.
And I understand that Ike Taylor was great for us, but where was Ike Taylor drafted at? He wasn't a first rounder. I think he was like somewhere around the 6th. And so, to spend that quality grade, I mean, are we going to set him up to lose? Look at what happened with Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah.
He came in, he was all right. He's got bricks for hands too. And, he's gotten better every year. Look at Bud Dupree. It took him some time as well.
Another guy. Yeah.
But those 2 guys took heavy criticism their first couple of years in the league.
Yeah.
From Steelers fans and media and things of that nature. And so I'm a little bit concerned about Joey Porter when it comes to that aspect. Are we setting him up for failure?
I understand that. Absolutely.
And is he a guy that's going to be able to shut down half a side? If he's not being able to get those turnovers, opposite the quarterbacks from the opposition are going to
one-on-one situations.
Damn right. And you're gonna have some receivers that can get up there and jump up and catch that ball. You're gonna have to make some interceptions. You're gonna have to turn the ball over to show make quarterbacks play them a little bit honest, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, and Daniel, you're not wrong in the sense of just kind of those concerns or questions when it relates to him. But I'd say there's probably going to be realistically probably 4 or 5 corners that go in the first round. So the Steelers might be able to have their pick of however many at that 17th pick, if that's what they want. But I would not be surprised either if they maybe looked aside from Cameron Sutton, I wouldn't be surprised either if they maybe looked at a guy in the free agent market, not someone that's commanding top dollar, but maybe someone that they view can add some stability to this. Not a guy that's just a depth guy or anything like that, but someone that might be able to be a part of the rotation. Now also defensive line. I think defensive line is just as big as any other need on defense. I really do. You have Cam. Leal showed, some few signs. We know that he got injured last year as well. I read somewhere maybe they might move him as an edge guy. That if they would put him behind Watt and Highsmith, I don't know quite know about that, but he's still a guy that I think the Steelers like just as a whole, and the rest really are ultimately free agents. You think it's realistic that if they would kind of roll with those 2, maybe they bring back Ogunjobi, or you think that they might spend some top dollar on a defensive lineman or what?
I think you're going to have to, man. When you look at the positions that you have of need, you're going to have to. The Steelers aren't a team that like to gamble a lot. They're going to address the positions of need in free agency first, and then attack, the draft as best player available and for the future, right? We'll look at the free agency list here. mean, there's a lot of guys over the age of 30. Even Javon Hargrave is 30 years old. I didn't know he was that old. I thought he was a little bit younger than that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now his projected market value is $13 million a year right now.
Bro.
I think. Right.
Yeah. That's what I'm reading too.
Yeah.
That's
3 years,
top dollar, man.
$60 million.
Yeah,
really that's a lot. 3 years, $60 million. Holy cow.
Yeah, but I mean, left tackle is one that you don't want to get in free agency either, because left tackle is
I agree. I agree.
A pretty penny, and so that's going to take if you end up going left tackle, and that takes your probably 17 off the board. Now, can we get a decent defensive tackle or defense lineman at 32? I think there's a possibility for that, because. Yeah, they need some help. I mean, you look at Isaiah Loudermilk, he hasn't done much. Leal, he's played well, in certain areas. He was a rookie last year, so this year, also he had some injury issues last year. So this year, another offseason in, another year with the defense, he'll be showing up. Cam Hayward's getting another year older. Larry Ogunjobi is going to be commanding probably about that 9. Maybe 8 million.
I can see that.
And so I don't know if he's worth that, to be honest with you. But man, I think it's a gamble if you're trying to get a top tier guy at 32.
It is. I think for this, they're going to. We know they like to build through the draft, of course. We know they're one of those teams that like to build through the draft rather than through free agency. And that's kind of why you see a team like Jacksonville or some of these other teams that are always dropping dollars left and right and ultimately have never been able to get it together. Now, Jacksonville, obviously, we know has done a good job this year, but in the past, of course. But I think the Steelers are probably going to they'll make whatever moves they got to make, free up whatever cap room that they can do, and they might make that kind of put most of that money toward that one guy, and then maybe fill out the rest through, decent or average type dollar. I don't know. I hope that they go a different approach because I'm so accustomed to just the way they really do things, like Kevin Colbert. They'll kind of let the dominoes fall, and then they'll kind of come in and stuff like that. I'd like to see them at least go make an aggressive move this offseason, something that they haven't really quite done in however long.
I got a question for you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tremaine Edmonds, and I'm looking at Sport Track. His estimated market value is 11 million. Miles Jack is making 13.
Right. That's kind of crazy.
Do you think we're overpaying? Do you think we're overpaying for Miles Jack?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. And I definitely do. Miles Jack. Hey, I was excited when they brought him in. I think a lot of people were excited when they brought him in. And it's not that Miles Jack was bad. I think myself and probably a lot of us maybe expected more from him this year. So what I see happening, Daniel, is I know that they can cut him and save $8 million or whatever it is. I think they're going to extend him by 1 or 2 years and try to push some money out. Now, that doesn't mean that that he needs to stick around that entire extension or anything, depending how he plays. But I could see it just in the sense, and he was hurt too, Jennifer. You do make a good point. He did have a few injuries toward the final stretch of the year. But I could see them, and that's what I would do, because if you cut him just to save money, now you got nobody there at inside linebacker. You got nobody. If you keep Miles Jack, you extend him maybe 1 or 2 years, spread some of that money out, then you might be, I think that would be a much better case scenario, and you'll be able to utilize more money toward somebody else rather than just Miles Jack making $13. Well, right. And yeah, Brian, like they definitely, there's a few guys that I think really a lot of us would like to see them re-sign. But those guys being re-signed, they'll have to, on top of them just re-signing a few of those guys, they're going to have to make a few plays in free agency to upgrade this team. Because, hey, we know where they are. We know really how they finished the year. They can go out, they can be a little aggressive for once or something like that. You might, and I think maybe they might be, because this is Omar Khan's first year and stuff like that. So I don't know, Daniel. Do you think that could you see them extending him another year or two just to push some money around?
Maybe. The problem is, when it comes to Miles Jack is, he was projected a first rounder. He fell pretty hard out of the first round because of a knee injury that he had, and I think they found that he had some kind of degenerative disease or illness or whatever in his knee, and that it was going to be giving him problems in the later, further down his career. And this year he had a lot of leg injuries. I don't know if it has anything to do with the knee. They called it an ankle, they called it a leg, they called it a lot of things. But could it have been this chondral defect or whatnot that I'm reading here? It's the cartilage that lines the end of the bones. There's some sort of defect in his knee that was going to cause the knee to degenerate or whatever, and it's going to be an issue. And so, you look at that. You look at the fact that you have somebody, perhaps like a Tremaine Edmonds, who. All right, so who would you rather have? Would you rather have Miles Jack at $13 million, or would you rather have Tremaine Edmonds at 13? Because let's just say you end up cutting Miles Jack. I think you get hit with like a $3 million cap hit or something like that, and so you carry that $3 million on the 11. That's $14 million there. So you're going to end up paying $14 million for a middle linebacker. Would you rather have that Miles Jack with possible knee injury to come later on or throughout his career? Would you rather have a Tremaine Edmonds, who's also only 24 years old?
Right. Yeah, definitely Tremaine Edmonds. And Tremaine Edmonds at least can play the middle of the field a little bit.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And so that's my point of view. When I look at this, I'm like, you're paying that amount. I'd rather get an Edmonds. Maybe he takes a little bit of a pay cut to play with his brother.
Yeah, maybe, because the Bills ain't going to be able to sign everybody.
Nah. Bills are in a little bit of a salary cap issue because they have a Josh Allen that they have to pay for now.
Yeah.
So the Steelers are in a bit of luxury if they can pull their cards right. They have a quarterback on a rookie deal. They have a receiver on a rookie deal. They have a running back and a tight end. Like, all your pieces on offense that you want, those key pieces are on a rookie deal. This is your time to strike. This is the time to load up.
No, it really is. That's what I mean. Take advantage of it, dude. You got to take advantage of it. Hi, mate. Brian, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning into the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yep. Mark, what's up, man? Good to see you in the chat, bro. Looking forward to seeing you back on the show in the future, man. Hope you're doing well.
For sure.
But that's one of the things too, is now if they keep Miles Jack, maybe they extend him to where he doesn't have a big cap hit this year. And let's say they would bring in a guy like a Tremaine Edmonds or Kaiser White or someone in free agency as well. Then, I mean, okay, I'm still okay with that. If they would cut Miles Jack and use that money toward a big money inside linebacker, what do you think? Do you think Mark Robinson would be kind of someone that would get a higher opportunity? Robert Spillane? If Miles Jack isn't back next year, what do you think?
Yeah, Miles Jack ain't back. I think the Steelers are going to have to re-sign Spillane regardless. He played 100% of their defensive snaps last year in the second half of the season, or towards the last quarter of the season for sure. They were choosing him over Devin Bush, over Miles Jack. I think you got to keep that guy there. He has a speed issue, right? That's his problem. He's not that fast. And so if you can put somebody else that's going to be the cover guy, and you also have to remember that the Steelers wanted to play a 3 safety set. They didn't get the opportunity to do so much last year because, KZ got hurt. And then they also wanted to utilize a 3 outside linebacker set. We'd seen that for a couple of years, but TJ Watt was down. And so, if you had a guy like Tremaine Edmonds, who's going to be playing 100% of the snaps, then that will limit a guy like Robert Spillane to a handful of snaps and to predictable down and distances, and where we can utilize his talents to his, the best of his ability versus putting him in a situation where he's covering a wide receiver. And, I think that's probably the route that they're going to go. And I think Robert Spillane saves them some money. and a draft pick. Now they could also attack maybe the middle linebacker position in later rounds. Mark Robinson. I think Mark Robinson is not too far off what you get from Robert Spillane. In fact, I think Robert Spillane's probably better at this point just because of his knowledge of the game and his experience. But, when it comes to Mark Robinson, I think he's going to be a run-stopping beast. But in the passing game, I think he's going to be a liability as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. That's the thing. And that's why Tremaine Edmonds, we know he's the big name. If they would bring him in, I mean, he's someone, I'm not saying that he's so great in pass coverage, but he's really not bad. He's got a lot of, over these 4 years, and I'd say probably more recent, he's been a guy that has been utilized in pass covering type defenses and him being out there during passing downs. So I'd much rather have that than just have 3 guys that just can play the tackle. So
yeah.
How much cap space the Steelers have? I believe right now they have like what they have, like $4 million right now or something like that.
Right. They were going into it with $4 million, but that was before they had the amount that came out. It got extended or it got increased. Okay. So there's some there. And then you have to account also the $12 million for William Jackson. And there's some other guys that are on the books that
so that's what I mean. So they're going to free out. Yeah, they're going to free up money with cutting Mitch, cutting William Jackson, Gunnar Olszewski, possibly Miles Jack. Who's the other guy missing? That if they would cut, there's another guy that will free up some money. If like Chuck Okorafor could be a cap casualty if they decide to do that. Akella Witherspoon, that's the other guy. Akella Witherspoon will be the other guy that gets cut. That will save them some money. And between all those numbers combined, they can free up around $40 million in their own cap space and do whatever they please with that money. Yeah, Witherspoon. So there you go. Now, let's kind of get to the prediction part here, Daniel. Do you think, and real quick, actually, to tackle on Jennifer's question I put up, Andy Weidel, their assistant GM, I think it's going to be more longer term because he was a part of the Eagles after their Super Bowl run and a part of their drafting, a part of really player personnel. And I think that he's going to bring a fresh mind to the Steelers. And that's honestly kind of something they've needed. They've needed some new ideas. They've needed some fresh minds. And I think a guy like that who's kind of been involved with really what the Eagles were doing over the last 3-4 years. And as we're seeing really all that flourish, I don't see why he wouldn't bring kind of a similar perspective here. And that might be something that the team needs because for 20 years, when you have really the same mindset, when you have a lot of the same type of business and stuff like that for those years, it starts to get to the point, all right, it's getting a little stale. We need to shake things up a little bit. So now with a guy like Omar Khan, who's really good with money, who's good with contracts, Andy Weidel, who's good with player development, player personnel, drafting, they kind of just need somebody like that that's able to bring some freshness into it. So that's what I'm hoping with this offseason, that we start to maybe see a little different approach with things than what we've been accustomed to. But Daniel, do you see the Steelers being aggressive this offseason for agency? Do you think that there's going to be maybe a different direction here? Do you think we're going to see that, or you think it's going to kind of be still kind of maybe a similar way that Kevin Colbert did things Omar Khan's going to do? Well, what's your kind of gut feeling on how this is going to play out?
I think they're going to be very aggressive. I feel that you have a two-headed tandem in Andy Weidel and Omar Khan, that this is their first draft, their first start or open of free agency. It's their first time to make their mark on this team. Kevin Colbert put up, a drafted Kenny Pickett. He redid the contract for no, he didn't do the recontract. I think that was Khan who did on Deontay Johnson, my bad. And so, but he drafted this past draft, which, man, this was a good draft. When you're looking at Kenny Pickett, you're looking at George Pickens, Leal, Mark Robinson towards the end. And I'm probably missing some guys there, but this was a great draft. you want to leave your mark. You want to make sure that this acquisition of Omar Khan and Andy Weidel was something that happened a long time ago, and so they want to remind everybody that they were chosen for a reason, and that they were going to be building this team. And I think they understand where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. They're in a position of having a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, and that they're going to be able to move and make some moves and changes here and there. That it's going to really, open the window for a Super Bowl run, in my opinion, here in the near future.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a little bit of a different approach than what we saw before. Wasn't Omar Khan the guy that got Minkah Fitzpatrick's deal done?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was quick to do that, man.
Right. Yeah. There's been some changes that have already occurred. There was that, and you also had the fact that he also re-signed Deontay Johnson and got that contract taken care of as well. He traded Chase Claypool and got a second round 32nd overall pick for.
Yeah.
I think
crazy.
I think they call him the con artist for a reason, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. That's pretty insane.
You get a second round pick for Chase Claypool, who didn't win very many games last season, is insane. And so, I'm excited. I'm excited for what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do. I'm excited to see if they're going to do something different. One thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers hadn't done for a long time since, Big Snack, was move back in the first round. I'm not saying that the Steelers would probably do that, or there's a chance that they could do that. However, there is a lot of holes. Maybe if free agency doesn't roll the way that they want it to roll, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pittsburgh Steelers take a couple steps back and pick up some more draft picks to fill in those holes. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things. Everything's on the table at this point. There's absolutely nothing that we know about when it comes to this co-general managers that we have. I'm excited about Andy Weidel because he's a guy that, like you mentioned before, he built or helped build the Eagles roster that ended up making it to the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. And so they're a team that I think that the Steelers want to kind of, follow in the footsteps, have a mobile quarterback who can throw down the field, have receivers that are deep threats and can make contested catches. And you have a running game that's going to be the identity of your team with a stout defense. That's basically what the Steelers want to do. And I'm sure that's what every team wants to do. But, they put out the blueprint, and we got the guy that designed that blueprint on our team now to hopefully perhaps put up a team that is constructed in a similar way. Yeah. To have similar results.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's just really, I think, what the team just ultimately needs is just some freshness. They need some new blood in there. And I know Omar Khan was under Kevin Colbert for a long time, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't like to do things his own way at the same time. I'm sure he has different ideas than what Kevin Colbert probably had as well. And I'm excited just for that alone, to see kind of that dynamic duo, what they do in the first round of free agency, the draft. I agree. I think we're gonna see some newness already once things get kickstarted. I think that we're gonna see not a different direction, but like we're gonna see a different approach to things with kind of what comes out and what the Steelers are thinking, what they're doing. But yeah, I'm excited for this offseason, man. I think, hey, Steelers, make some moves, be aggressive. If you're able to have a solid draft and the cookie kind of crumbles your way a little bit, I don't see why this team can't take the next step than where they did last year in the second half of the season. So are there a few names, and we'll kind of finish it on this. Are there a few names that are out there that you're going to make a prediction on that are going to join this team?
Well, the first one that I'm going to say is, and I'm really having my fingers crossed, is it's going to be one Tremaine Edmonds. I think that he's going to be a guy that ends up finding. Yeah, I think he's going to be here. I think that also is going to bring Terrell Edmonds to be re-signed. I think that those are going to be some options. I think that the Steelers are going to get probably a veteran quarterback as well in free agency. I see Mitch Trubisky being on the way out. So who do they bring in? There's you're going to want somebody who has in my opinion, a similar skill set to Kenny Pickett. That way the game plan doesn't have to change. So somebody who can move, somebody who can throw on the move, and be accurate-ish. I mean, it's a second-string quarterback. He's not going to be starter capable, or else he'd be a first-teamer. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers bring in a Teddy Bridgewater or maybe even a Geno Smith, Josh Dobbs. Somebody of that caliber to come in and perhaps, play for that backup position. And then along with, I think they're going to end up getting an undrafted free agent for rookie minicamp. But yeah, when it comes to those positions, I'm also going to say that the Steelers are not going to target receiver very high in either free agency or the draft. I do think that they end up picking up some receivers, but I don't think they're going to be high priority picks. And when it comes to the defensive line, I think they're going to be going in the draft.
Okay. So their big free agent signing is Tremaine Edmonds. They re-signed Terrell Edmonds. You say Cam Sutton's coming back. Did you say that?
No, I don't think Cam Sutton is coming back.
You think Cam Sutton's gone? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Tremaine Edmonds, Terrell Edmonds, you think that they'll attack defensive line in the draft, cornerback probably in the draft, and you probably look at a veteran quarterback, stuff like that. I agree with veteran quarterback. Mitch is definitely gone. I don't see why he would want to come back, and there's no reason to pay him $8 to $10 million as a backup quarterback here. Sorry, use that money elsewhere. I agree. I think they should find someone that has been around the league for a little bit as the backup, that Kenny can kind of lean on, and somebody that obviously has a similar play style. You look at running back, you're fine there. Tight end, I don't really think there's anything there you got to do. I agree with wide receiver. I don't understand the Jordan Addison stuff. I really don't. He's not a Jamar Chase. He's not a top 5 choice that's going to get picked in the draft. He's not a can't miss wide receiver. He's not very good on contested catches. I know Kenny Pickett's played with him, but he's not really that great in the sense of making catches when he's got DBs on him. He's not great in the sense of he's not this guy that easily gets separation and can, I don't really know how you want to describe it. I'm not saying the guy's bad. He's got some speed to him. He can make plays down the field and stuff like that. But to me, he's not a guy that has the intangibles of being a top 5, top 10 pick, a wide receiver. And I just don't see the need for the Steelers to take him at 17. He's not really good in the sense of when he's got guys on him, he's not, his hands aren't really that spectacular or anything like that. To me, he'll probably get in the first round. He'll probably go in the first round, but I don't think he'll go toward the end of the first round. And he kind of had a down year at USC. He had 800 some yards and just handful of touchdowns. He wasn't the player he was at Pitt. And so, hey, if you're a Pitt fan, I understand. It's not like, hey, if they take Jordan Addison, I'm not going to cheer for. Of course I will. Of course I'll cheer for. I just don't care to see the position. It's not about the player. I don't care to just see the position taken in their first round. I really don't. And I know the thing, oh, well, you look at what Hurts, then they got the Eagle, or Hurts got his wide receiver, Burrow got his wide receiver and Chase in the draft. And Buffalo traded for Diggs, so whenever these receivers get number 1 wide receiver, or these quarterbacks get number 1 wide receiver, I don't really think Jordan Addison's really proven. And yeah, I know they have different competition, but still, if Jordan Addison's going to be worthy of a first round pick at 17, I want more from a receiver that might be somebody that can ultimately be a top 10 type guy. And Jordan Addison, I don't really think has the traits or qualities that you can make a judgment of him being that. Could he be that? Sure. Any rookie can ultimately make their own path and be a great player. I don't agree with the position being taken at 17. So I agree. I think that there's going to be some guys they bring in, but it's not going to be a primary focus. I think they'll look at corner and tackle in their first 3 picks. I think we'll see that. I do think Cam Sutton will be back. Yeah, I agree. We don't need any. I agree. He's not a guy that's a top, and it's not a knock on him. He's a talented guy. He could be a good wide receiver, but I think when you look at where the Steelers are at, I think it just kind of hinders maybe you lose an opportunity to bring somebody else in that can really offer something to this team that's not at wide receiver. And Jordan Addison could be good for all I know. I just know that there's some traits and qualities, like I mentioned, contested catching, sometimes hand issues, things of that kind of nature that kind of stops them a little bit. And it is what it is. But nonetheless, I think we'll see that in the draft. Tackle, corner, I think we'll see that. Man, I would love to see Tremaine Edmonds, Daniel. I would love to be on your hype train. I really would. I really would. I don't know if I want to make the Tremaine Edmonds pick there. I hope so. But I'm just going to say that they do go sign an inside linebacker to be a starter, whoever that is. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever that is. Terrell Evans comes back. I think Cam Sutton comes back. I think Kazi will be back. I think Ogunjobi leaves. I think that he's going to price himself out too much. The Steelers are going to want to utilize their money elsewhere. Leal will step in as a starter. You have Cam Hayward. I think they'll look in the draft as well with maybe one of their first 3 picks, a defensive line. And maybe they might bring somebody else that isn't really commanding much money to try to bring or to try to be somebody on that D line. Who else we got? I think inside linebacker will probably, I could maybe see that being their biggest addition. Could maybe see him sign another cornerback to strengthen the group. I don't know. But let's just put it this way. I think that they're going to spend a little bit more money than what they normally do. I think they'll be aggressive, something that we haven't really seen in a while. They could draft a middle linebacker, but you're not going to draft a middle linebacker in the first 2 rounds. There isn't anybody that's probably Jack Campbell's probably the best inside linebacker. He's probably going to go in the 3rd round. So you want an inside linebacker that's ultimately going to be a difference maker because they have not had that in a while. So if they can go out on the free agent market, you bring somebody in that can ultimately be that, well, then great. I think they'll spend a little bit more than what they do. I think they'll create that money. I think we'll see an aggression from new management, and we'll see, hey, I think we'll all sit there and say, hey, man, the Steelers they know what they got to do, and they're making the plays that they got to. It's not really a great draft from the linebackers. They'll make the decisions they got to do. We'll all sit there and say, hey, we like what they're doing, and they're doing what they got to do. They realize where they're at and what they got to do to be up there with Cincinnati, AFC North, anything farther than that. And that's the thing. We're all, us fans and the team, we're able to see what they got. We're able to see what these young guys were able to do in their first year. We're able to see really what this team was able to do. They won 9 games, and I don't see any reason as to why that they can't be even better next season, especially with making some upgrades through free agency, doing what you got to do through the draft. So I don't know, but I like that. I think it's fun to kind of make some predictions and stuff like that. But Daniel, I like yours. I think they're going to do a lot of similar things to what you said. I think they'll do some things to kind of what I said. Am I going to hit the home run and everything? Absolutely not. There's probably going to be a couple of things, dude, I said that nobody's even going to expect. You know what I mean? They're probably going to make a move that nobody even sees coming. So, yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. Anything else you want to add on to appreciate that, Steelers fan? Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Anything you want to add on to the off-season predictions at all?
No, not really. I mean, I think that it's real early, man. Time will tell. I think that as things get closer and rumors start to spread, though, we'll get a clear picture. I do want to answer Jennifer's question. She asked, how was the XFL game in person? I went to the Brahmas game, that Brahmas are the team, the San Antonio Brahmas are the team that is coached by Hines Ward. I'll tell you what, y'all, it was like a Steelers game there. Like every like 5th person was wearing a Steelers jersey.
Sick.
Yeah. There's a lot of support out there. It was crazy to hear some of the names that were out there, like Mateo Durant, Kalen Balazs, guys that had donned the black and gold.
Kalen Balazs was there?
Yeah. He was the running back. Yeah, he's the running back for, I think it was for the Brahmas. I was there, and all of a sudden I just heard Kalen Balazs, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. Like that guy was backing up Najee Harris like 2020, 2021. What's going on here? That's crazy. It was crazy to see that. The St. Louis quarterback was A.J. McCarron, so I recognized his name. Was there a little bit of a drop in play as far as performance? Yeah. There was you would see some throws that could have been done better down the field, and some receivers who had opportunities to catch the ball and let it just, look like I was watching Deontay Johnson lowlights. And so, There was some of that, but for the most part, it was highly entertaining. It was fun to watch. Um, I made the mistake of leaving early. The San Antonio was up 15-3 with less than 2 minutes to go, and so I decided this game's over. Let's go let's get in the car. And didn't dawn on me the new rules. The onside kick is a 4th and 15, so St. Louis was able to score and win 18-15, scoring 15 points in what was it, like a minute and a half? And so
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Me and my wife, we went out to go eat, and we sat down at the restaurant right as soon as we left. And I opened up my phone. I'm like, what the hell? What is this? I was like,
how the heck did they get 18 points?
yeah. And I was just like, well, I guess we got to stay the full game. We can't believe
no, you do. It's a different game, Daniel. It's a different game.
Well, me and the wife are still undefeated when we see the Steelers, and that's what matters.
Well, you know what, man? Let's keep it that way. So, are there a couple games you're eyeing on the schedule?
Houston. Actually, the Steelers are coming into Texas.
Okay, well, there you go.
As far as going to Pittsburgh, I kind of want to see a Steelers-Ravens game. I want to see a Steelers-Ravens game. I haven't been to one of those. Cool. I'm probably going to aim somewhere between late October, early November, something that's not going to be too cold and not too hot, because I've been there in the beginning of the season.
That's the time to go, man.
Yeah, because when you're there, and even if the temperature is like upper 70s, lower 80s, you're out there, you're wearing all black, surrounded by 60,000 people. The sun beats down on you.
Yeah,
it beats down on you. Now, the last game I went to in January, I was come back every time.
Snowstorm.
Yeah, well, this one it was a nice day. It was like 30 degrees. It wasn't too bad. Everybody else around me was enjoying the weather, but for me and my father, who were from Texas, and it being like in the 70s when we left, and being 30s, it was a little bit of a change. It was a little cold for us.
No, it definitely is. It definitely is, and if you're able to do a Ravens game, it is pretty fun. I went to the one in 2019 when Rudolph got knocked out. Duck came in, almost saved the day. So I went to that one. My friend Zach came out, so we went to that one. But I didn't go to one last year because I just didn't really want to spend the money on lower level where I like to sit with just really kind of, I don't know, just how the team was playing and stuff like that. I didn't really want to. I'll definitely go to a couple again this year. But Jennifer says my family wants to go to Green Bay game. They play Green Bay out here this year? Is it out here?
I think so. I think that's the game that they play. That's the extra game, ain't it?
Yeah, I think it is. Juju did fumble that game. Yes, I was very disappointed. Mark went to the Steelers-Ravens Christmas Day game for 2016. That was probably a hell of a game to go to.
Yeah.
So I think that I've never been someone that puts a lot of stock necessarily into team schedules, because you have teams that sometimes play better than what they're expected to. Sometimes they're not as good as what you thought they were going to be. But really at face value, the Steelers do have a much workable schedule this year than what they had this past season.
Oh, so sure.
That's something as well. That's kind of a breath of fresh air. I feel like these last 3 years, man, their schedule, other than 2020, I know the crap they've gotten, but I feel like over the last couple of years, their schedule's been pretty rough. So I don't know. We'll see if that happens. And yeah, the XFL kickoff rules. I'm a fan of those too. Jaime says you all going to live stream the draft. I'm probably not, because I usually do it with I usually talk with my friend. I don't know. Mark maybe might. He might. He likes to live stream. You live stream draft, Daniel?
I didn't last year, but that was because I was traveling to the draft party. This year I'm not. Okay. So I probably will be going live around the time the Steelers do draft. I'm not sure that I'm going to be doing the entire draft.
How would you feel if they took Bijan Robinson, the running back, in the first round?
I would be like, what? I mean, like I said, I'm not really big into college, but just the fact that them drafting a running back in the first round, that would be a face bump.
That would be absolutely miserable to do.
Yeah, 100%. There are just certain positions you don't want to see go that early, and then running back,
especially the fact they have Najee. Because I know Mark mentioned that they'll take a running back in the first round. So like the fact they have Najee and then they would take another running back in the first round, that would be absolutely god awful.
Yeah. I'd expect the Raiders to do something like that, but the Steelers.
Yeah, the Raiders. Yeah. What's going to be, speaking of the draft real quick, there's a lot of teams that are probably going to be looking to change quarterbacks this year. So this is going to be a draft where teams will be moving up, trying to make moves and stuff like that. So I don't know. It might go the Steelers' way. If there's a couple people in particular they really want, they really like, it might roll their way just because of that reason. So I really don't know. But guys, there's a lot of excitement, a lot of things to be excited about this offseason. I think if you're a Steelers fan, a lot of things to look forward to. And myself, Daniel, Mark, we'll definitely all be putting out content when really this offseason gets going through. And really on this podcast, we're going to keep it we're going to keep it Tuesday and Saturdays. We've just really kind of been waiting for the offseason to start. And really once things start coming out to really kind of get back on a normal schedule. So if you guys want to, about this Saturday, not really quite sure. It really just kind of depends if there's really anything that we feel would be good for a show. Daniel and I will talk about it. So keep up with our channels. We'll post if there's going to be a show or not this Saturday. But really once off season gets going and stuff like that, we'll of course be back to every Tuesday, Saturday going forward. It's just tough, man. It's tough when there's not much going on and then there's not much to talk about. And then you're just kind of repeating yourself. It's tough.
For sure. 100%.
Stuff with Steelers content. But guys in the chat, we appreciate you all tuning in and we appreciate you being here. Just fun hour conversation about Steelers off season, some predictions, things we might see them do, stuff like that. So it should be fun. But Daniel was going to be back, man. It was good. It was good to be back on the podcast.
Yes, sir. It was fun, man. And thank you for joining, for having me.
Yep. So, guys, again, just keep up with our channels on YouTube. We'll post if there's going to be a show or not this weekend. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks, guys. We'll possibly see you Saturday. If not, I'm sure we'll probably see you next week because March is going to be here around the corner and there's going to be a lot of things to talk about. So we appreciate you guys. And as always, here we go, Steelers.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it